Good morning, and welcome to FPL Mate. We are back for Gameweek 27, the deadline. Yes, it's deadline day. It's slightly later deadline than usual, which means I should have been more organised this morning and actually starting the stream on time, but it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. Got a wedding, well, an engagement party this evening in London. Well, I say this evening. I'm pretty much got to leave as soon as we finish the stream. Soon after, and I thought it was a smart casual attire, but it turns out a lot of the boys are wearing suits, so I am so disorganized. I'm so disorganized. So yeah, my lovely wife is taking a trip to the shop to try and find me something to wear, whilst I sit here and stream FPL. So yeah, maybe I've got out of doing some shopping in a way, but also I didn't know there was shopping to be had until this morning. But there we go. I thought it was all sorted with my outfit. But there we go. Have you taken your hair for a car wash, mate? No. I just don't really know what to do with it at the moment. So I think I might grow it out. I'm kind of thinking, like, do I just grow it out? I don't know. I feel like a ponytail of some variety might help. But I don't know. Needs a wash regardless. I haven't done it since last night. Wear a football kit? Hey, listen, if there was a football kit, then I would have plenty of clothing options to wear this evening. There's no doubt about that. That would be easy work. Is we got a blackcurrant? We've got a squash update. We've got a blackcurrant squash. Blackcurrant's playing today. Yep, we are on the bang on the blackcurrant squash, which is all good there. Let's just make sure we're all set up and ready to go. I don't really know. You knew the blackcurrant squash was nailed. I don't know if the blackcurrant squash is nailed on necessarily, but you got it. You got the prediction right today. I don't know what the big topics of this game week are going to be. I feel like it's been a bit of a slow week in terms of making decisions. I mean, it doesn't help that the last deadline was 11 days ago. I think it was on the 10th of February. So yeah, it's been a while since we had the last deadline, and now I think a lot of people aren't actually making transfers. A lot of people are just kind of thinking to roll and reassess next game week, particularly those who are already kind of invested in Chelsea, which I'm not really. I've got Enzo, that's it. But if you've got a lot of Chelsea boys, then you're going to keep them for this week, and you're probably going to sell them next week, most likely. But yeah, I'm actually going to be making a transfer. Let me get my team on screen as it currently stands. Not that it will be staying this way. And I'm kind of wondering whether wait, here we go. I'm wondering whether any kind of team leaks would impact my decision making at all. But honestly, I'm not really sure that they would, to be honest. The plan has always been, like, for the last few weeks, really, has always been to go into Game Week 27 and move Chido Obi to Thiago. If we get a leak that Haaland's not starting, I mean, we know Haaland is fit, but if we get a leak that he's not starting, does that give me, I don't know, some motivation to do Haaland to Thiago instead of Obi to Thiago? But then in that sense, I'm still going to have to sell Obi later down the line anyway. And it doesn't really make a difference because it will mean that I'm playing Anderson either way. So I don't actually think it makes that much sense for me to move Haaland to Thiago, even if Haaland is, for whatever reason, leaked to not be starting. So I think it's pretty straightforward for me. I feel like I'm waiting. I don't really know why I'm waiting around to make a transfer, because it kind of seems obvious what I should be doing already. If I'm just going to stick with the plan. I think that'll be popular, by the way. Whether you've got an Obi or a Mark Gu or a who's the other cheap guy? Some people have. I guess people are not as worried about Krupi Jr. because at least he does get some minutes and gets his goal every 4 or 5 game weeks. yeah, I guess people are less concerned about selling him for or upgrading him, but I think it's going to be pretty popular to upgrade some of those cheaper forwards now. I really do think the forward template is going to be Haaland, Ekatike, and Thiago. I think some people will do a Haaland to Salah switch, to be fair. Don't know if I'm completely sold on it yet. Don't know if I'm completely sold. I mean, people often say, you know, Haaland's second half of the season never as good. Same can be said about Salah. Salah is usually has a pretty weak second half to the season, doesn't he? So, yeah. I want to captain Haaland this week as well. Vice on Bruno. Maybe some thoughts towards Enzo and some thoughts towards Thiago. I think my team is pretty well set up, but my team is pretty well set up because I just keep using transfers. I'm not saving any. I think those who are saved transfers and stuff may find themselves in better position than me, perhaps later down the line. Hill on the bench. I think I'm not gonna kind of try and push my luck at any further with Hill. Bench this week, and then I'll look to be starting him in the next couple of weeks. We've got some good fixtures coming up. We've got Sunderland at home. We've got Burnley away. Those two games, I will certainly be starting Hill. Maybe Brentford at home. I don't know yet. I might be more, you know, that I have to do it rather than I want to do it. And then I think I'll just play him against Man United at home kind of by default more than anything. So, yeah, I know a lot of people are thinking about buying Hill. I think he's a useful player to have in your squad. And, you know, he may well be better than some of your defenders currently. But in most cases, I think Hill is probably going to be a bench. And we'll do the bench list, of course, today. And we'll talk about that. We've got a couple of members in the chat. Make yourself known, by the way, members. I have seen a couple of you. Let's see what you got for me. We've got Carl says, are you far from London? Kind of yes and no. Usually I can get a train into central London and I'm not too far. So I can get into London in like 45 minutes to 50 minutes. But the train line on the line that I live on is currently down and the trains aren't running. So it makes things a little bit more complicated. Makes it a little complicated. How likely is Lacroix to play? It's not looking good. I can't lie. Adductor injury. It looks like he's probably going to be out for this game week, judging by some of the comments. Of course, I can't say that with certainty. But if I had to guess, I would say that it's like 90% Lacroix out. I would prepare for that inevitability. Certain Backpacker is here. Ogeng is here saying I'm on buying Palmer from Burmo. Do I dare? Palmer in from Burmo. I don't think I'd do it. Not for a 1 week punt. Yeah, it's kind of a case of, isn't it? It's kind of ruining your structure, ruining your future plans for the sake of a 1 week captaincy. If you value that captaincy really, you value that Palmer captaincy really highly, then yeah, that's going to be a good reason to kind of rip up your structure, rip up your plans to get Palmer for 1 week only. But you know, just be aware if you are captaining Palmer, 2 transfers. If Palmer does well, you know, gets a 13 pointer or something like that, which I think is realistic, or 14 pointer maybe. You know, is it worth just going for a Haaland 9 pointer and saving 2 transfers, kind of thing? You kind of have to weigh it up a little bit. I personally don't think it's worth buying Palmer. Like if you've previously bought Palmer, amazing, brilliant. But if you're only going for him now, I don't know, man. Maybe too late. Maybe too late. How's the weather right now? It's pretty cold actually. Pretty cold today. And grey as it always is in the English winter. Sounds like a classic case of Southern Rail being useless. Pretty much. Mark says, hi, Dan. I'm thinking Rice to Palmer and Keane to Hill. I don't mind that as much because it's not really spending 2 transfers because you're going to have to sell Rice regardless. So Rice is got to be 1 transfer out to someone regardless. I guess Some people would be okay with keeping Palmer through this run, I guess. It's just about what you're sacrificing. I mean, if you sacrifice... One other idea is if you have the opportunity to go to Palmer this week, and then maybe Palmer to Salah in game week 28. So you do someone to Palmer, Palmer to Salah, and kind of do a route like that, then that could definitely work. Keane to Hill, you know, if you're trying to save money, fine. If you desperately need another defender, fine. But again, I don't rate Hill crazy high this week. Maybe that's my mistake. I expect a 4-pointer from Hill this week, which, to be fair, he could do a lot worse. And certainly in that argument, should I actually be putting Hill ahead of Anderson on my bench? I've been wrestling with that all week. Because I do think Hill is good for a 4-pointer. I really do. I mean, some people would say, like, play Hill over Alderete. I think it's tight between those two, but I do think I just about prefer Alderete. Not much in it. Not much in it. But no, I do have some faith in Hill. I think it's just the Sunderland at home factor. It just goes crazy, doesn't it? Nicole, good morning. Good morning, my friend. Rob says, I'm hiding behind the sofa tonight. I do not want to see the EO of all those City lads against me. Yeah, man, it's a rough week to have no Semenyo. I think having no Mark Gahey or O'Reilly is fine. These players are perfectly playable, don't get me wrong, but you know, I don't fear Man City defenders this game week, but I do fear Semenyo. I really do. I really do. Yeah, I knew there would be questions. I knew if I put my team on screen, there'd be questions about Chidowobi. No, I'm not going to play Chidowobi. He's just there as a placeholder whilst I finalise a decision on bringing Thiago in. I think the thing is, I like to, if I know I'm going to make a transfer or strongly suspect I'm going to make a transfer, I will set my team up as if the transfer has already been made. So that way, as soon as the transfer has been processed on the FPL website, the player's in the starting 11 straight away, and I don't have to kind of worry about trying to remember to also change my lineup kind of thing. What does the hub say regarding the Hill versus Alderete debate? Now, this is the small problem, and we can have a look. Of course, we'll have a look. But what we will often find is players like Hill, who are kind of only really just coming into the fray, it's often quite difficult to get modelled predictions on them. So Alderete 4.3, Hill 3.6. That implies that there is a bit of a gulf between the two players. I don't think that, you know, the difference between these players is actually that big. I think it's more of a case that the data is kind of catching up a little bit on trying to assess kind of Hill's minutes potential, Hill's you know, if his, you know, insane defcons are sustainable, if his attacking returns are sustainable as well. Yeah, it's trying to factor all of that stuff in, and that's more easily said than done. And certainly as humans, we can say, yeah, Hill's definitely nailed, but the computers take a little bit more convincing. They take a little bit more convincing, and it does take some time for the kind of predictions to kind of catch up with players where there isn't as much data or precedent, you could say, for. So there we go. Carl says no City at all for me. Anyone else out there with literally 0 Man City players? You guys must be fearful. Let's put it that way. And by the way, I have Haaland captain, so I kind of, in a way, have 2 Man City players. Having Haaland captain, in many ways, is the equivalent of having Haaland and Semenyo. And Palmer captain. Same, you know, investment, if you like, or stake in the Man City attack, regardless. I had a few questions about bench boost this week. A lot of these bench boosters have Dubravka against Chelsea and Hill against West Ham, and I don't know, maybe Krupi Jr. against West Ham and stuff like that. I have to be honest, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean, you are really going to struggle to convince me that your bench is worth bench boosting outside of outside of the double game week 33, pretty much. It's going to be really hard. You're going to have to do some serious convincing. But if you're saying, oh, my bench looks okay this week, shall I bench boost? I'm going to say no pretty much every time. Nico O'Reilly, not sure it's worth playing him this weekend, even though he's been playing in midfield recently. Yeah, and that's just a fixture play. I mean, for some people, O'Reilly is going to be one of their better defenders for this game week. I mean, if you've got something like O'Reilly versus Hill, for example, this week, I think that's close. Maybe you can bench boost if you free hit game week 33. Maybe you could, but right now, based on current information, I'm really struggling to make a case for any other strategy other than that template strategy of game week 32 wildcard, game week 33 bench boost, and game week 34 free hit, which could be enormous. I'm struggling to make a case for any other strategy, and I want to. Believe me, I want to. I'll always try and find a different strategy. And you know, when we get to game week 30, we'll be doing another chip strategy video analysis, and we'll go through everything again. And because we'll have more information, because another round of FA Cup games will have taken place by that point. So at that point, you know, we'll be back on it and trying to think, okay, what's the angle now? How are we gonna see if we can try and differentiate ourselves from the template? And I think opportunities have a chance of coming up. It's just difficult to predict what those opportunities will be. If everything kind of happens as predicted, the best teams go through in the FA Cup and they get favourable draws in the FA Cup, this, that, and the other, which they won't. There'll always be a curveball in there. And then the strategy looks fairly set. Let's put it that way. Yash said, man, I sold Nico for Munoz last week, peak FPL. Yeah, man, I sold Chow for Richards. So similar boat. Rough one, right? A lot of people have been trolled by Crystal Palace defenders. And you know what? I don't even against Wolves at home, I don't know if it looks any better. Crystal Palace clean sheet odds are starting to drift as well, which is not ideal. I think we're kind of acknowledging that Crystal Palace are maybe in a bad spot. And I just thought, you know, Burnley and Wolves, let's just take the punt. I need to get rid of Chow. I need to free up some money for plans. Let's just do it. And maybe some regret there. Maybe I could have gone for in a different direction. I just don't really know where I could have gone. Yeah, maybe in hindsight would have been nice. Maybe. Nicole says, hi Dan. As I said, Cunha to Semenyo done to avoid price out. What's good? Get Richards to Coyote, Raya to Kelleher, or 5 free transfers for blank game with 31. I really like the 5 free transfers. I wouldn't do Richards to Coyote this week, I don't think. I wouldn't do Raya to Kelleher this week either. Arsenal's clean sheet odds are better than Brentford's this week, I believe. Actually, let's just verify that, just in case I'm waffling. Hopefully Robert T is helped us out here. Yeah, 48 minutes ago. Oh, good timing. Yeah, Arsenal 40% over Brentford's 29%. So there is a big gulf there. And Richards versus Cody. I think Richards is what, 49%? I thought, sorry, 39. No, 40. Okay, 40% chance of Crystal Palace clean sheet. And again, 29 Brentford. So you're losing clean sheet potential. You're losing DEFCON potential with Coyote as well. You may be getting a few saves, though, from Kelleher. Has to be said. So, yeah, Chelsea, 46% clean sheet. Crystal Palace and Arsenal joint second with 40% clean sheet. After that, a bit of a drop-off, actually, down to Aston Villa, 32%. But you've got quite a few teams around there. Aston Villa, 32%, Man City, 31%, Sunderland, 31%, Fulham, 30%, Brentford, 29%, Liverpool, 31%, Man United, 29%. So, a few teams there, really. That are certainly playable defenders. But yeah, interestingly, Bournemouth 21%, which is a little bit lower than some of these others. A lot of people really are selling Raya to kind of Kelleher or Martinez this week, aren't they? A lot of people are doing it. I'm just not convinced by that at all. It feels like such a luxury transfer. I mean, if you were making like a double transfer, you needed to free up some money, then Raya out maybe makes sense. I think Timber out makes more sense because in Game Week 31, it's so easy to just hide Raya behind Dubravka for Game Week 31 on the blank Game Week. So there you go. When Arsenal concede, Raya doesn't do saves often. No, but Arsenal keep a clean sheet more often than not, and Raya's the top scoring goalkeeper in FPL for a reason, because he gets the most points out of all of the goalkeepers. Now, we can talk about whether he's good value for money or not. That's a different conversation. But if you don't need the money right now, I don't really see the appeal. And like, it's not like, I mean, I don't know what people think about Spurs' attack. I can go for their data if you like. We're on a hub, of course. So let's go. Let's be fair and do non-penalty XG. The Spurs season attacking data is 5th bottom. We can take them on a 10-game week. And they're a little bit higher. 10-game week, they're kind of just below mid-table. Take them on a 6-game week. And they are, they're a little bit higher. So maybe, are they improving in attack? Or is there an outlier game? Find out. But certainly, I mean, I'm not convinced by Spurs' attack. Let's see if we can find an outlier game. I don't even know how we'd look at that. How do we even find that? Oh, I know. I'll try and FOTMob. Spurs. Will it show the XG results? Is there a website that's good for XG results? XG results. I don't want an XG table. I just want results with XG next to each result. But I don't know if I'm going to get that very easily. Probably should have looked this up before. No, XG is not particularly high there. I don't know if, okay, basically I don't know if there's any outlier games recently. Burnley, maybe? God, these have been some really rough results, isn't there? For Spurs recently. Really rough. But yeah, regardless, I'm happy to back a clean sheet for Arsenal. I'm happy to back it. Certainly more so than a lot of other teams this week. I'm honestly out. People will say Chelsea because the odds are better, but I'm struggling to think of a team this week that I think has an objectively, clearly better chance of a clean sheet than Arsenal this game week. Is there any shouts? Is there any realistic shouts out there, guys, for a clean sheet this week outside of Arsenal? Well, I mean, yeah, kind of Arsenal, because Crystal Palace, yeah, they've got the odds in their favour, but I think their odds are maybe a little overblown. I'd probably put the Crystal Palace clean sheet odds, if I was to make a kind of intuitive guess, a little bit closer to 30% than 40%. And as for Chelsea, yes, it's Burnley, but Burnley are kind of, gung-ho, all-out attack at the moment, which is great for Chelsea attackers, but it doesn't favour a clean sheet. And Chelsea are another team that do really struggle to keep, not necessarily to keep clean sheets, but just to, prevent chances against them, I guess. Sunderland, not the worst shout for a clean sheet this week, to be honest. Yeah. Aston Villa, I don't know. Again, like Leeds, they're a team that score. A few people's just saying they think Spurs are going to score against Arsenal. And you know what? You're probably right. The odds suggest it's more likely that Spurs score against Arsenal than don't score against Arsenal. But pretty much in 99% of football games, the odds are always in favour. Oh, sorry, the odds are always against a clean sheet in any given game. You very rarely see a 51% chance or more of a clean sheet in a game of football. Very, very rarely. So it's always going to be your odds against a team, but we're not just talking. We're not just talking about how likely are Arsenal to keep a clean sheet against Spurs. We're talking about, is there any other teams that are more convincing for a clean sheet? And I'm not totally convinced there are. Certainly not by any big enough difference to warrant making a transfer and kind of actioning it. But yeah, as often is the case, Arsenal coming off the back of a draw against Wolves, and people will massively overreact and say Arsenal are terrible. They're the worst team in the entire Premier League. God, sell all of their players. I mean, I've had a comment this week on a video that said Arsenal just drew 2-2 to Wolves. Are all Arsenal players must sell? And it's like, no, no. Arsenal draw. Don't get me wrong. It's a bad result. Two, wonder goals. 0.3 total XG conceded against Wolves, and suddenly Arsenal are the worst team ever. Again, remember, we're not just talking about Arsenal in isolation. We're talking about trying to find players who are better. You can say, "Oh, I think Arsenal have a worse clean sheet, kind of worse clean sheet potential than maybe they did a couple of weeks ago." You can say your opinion has changed a little bit, but who's better? That's kind of the question. And Chelsea concede what? 2 goals to who was it last week? 2 goals to Leeds, 1 goal to Wolves, 2 goals to West Ham, a goal to Crystal Palace. Are we saying that Chelsea are the worst defense? No one's saying that. You can argue, yes, you can definitely argue there's better value elsewhere, but people are talking about selling really without reinvesting that money immediately. Araya to Kelleher, I don't think gains you anything, really, if you're not reinvesting that money immediately. I think maybe more of an argument could be made for like Timber to Virgil, maybe. People rushing Rice out after he's just, got back-to-back bonus points, back-to-back DEFCON, and an assist. Why? Is there anyone else that's that much better? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these players are must-keep or anything, but they're not must-sells. Way too chill with the super chat. Says Rice to Rodgers. Speaking of. Rice to Rodgers / Semenyo or Rice and Timber out -4. Man, way too chill. You could have saved yourself 20 Norwegian kroner. Just by listening to the chat that what we've been chatting about for the past 5 minutes. But no, Rice and Timber out for -4 is crazy. It's crazy. Like, what more do you want from Rice? First of all, a double game week score of, what was it, 13 points or 14? 14 points. A double game week score. Look at this. 5 points, 5 points, 9 points. And these are not particularly good scores. There's no goals in this run. There's 1 assist in this run. And he's got 5-5-9. That is not a player we want to be taking a -4 out, but doing basically nothing and getting 19 points in 3 games. We'll start an average of points per game. That's what, 6.3? I don't know if that's right or not. But say it is. Averaging like 6.3 points per game. That feels like 6.5. I don't know, somewhere around there, 6.3 to 6.5. It feels like a lot of points per game for a player doing very little. I think people will look at kind of, certainly with Declan Rice, people will look at players like Rodgers, like Florian Wirtz, and think, Rodgers or Florian Wirtz in a good game week can really outscore Rice. And that's true. I agree with that. But I think if you take the next 4 game weeks, so up until Rice blanks in 31, so 27, 28, 29, 30, 4 game weeks of Rice, I think Rice will score similar, if not more, than someone like Rodgers. And I think he'll score similarly to someone like Florian Wirtz. I don't know who the other midfield options are that people are buying right now. It seems to be those guys. Palmer as well, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong. If we're taking a 4 game week basis, and I think that is unfair to compare with Palmer on a 4 game week basis, because you're really buying Palmer for this week and you're probably going to captain him too, which does change things. But if you were to say Rice versus Palmer, 4 game weeks, Rice, I think, probably outscores Palmer over 4 game weeks. But that's more of an unfair one. So I'm not saying Rice is a buy necessarily. I think there's certainly more exciting picks out there. But in terms of that consistency that we often look in FPL assets right now, maybe not exciting, but you look back over a period of 4 game weeks, players like Rice, players like Anderson often outscore their price peers over a period of numerous gaming. So a lot of people kind of talking about how amazing Semenyo is. And he is. But if you take you look at an individual game week and Semenyo will look miles better than Anderson, and then you look over a larger period of games and you think, actually, yes, Semenyo is outscoring Anderson, but it's not actually by that much. And also Anderson's like 2.5 million cheaper. There are 2 ways of playing FPL, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say there. And one of them is your Rices, your Andersons, they're just not -4. So to go back to the super chat from Way Too Chill 7251, would I sell Rice for a -4? Definitely not. Would I even sell him just for 1 transfer? Probably not. But if you really do want to kind of chase some upside, someone like Rodgers or Semenyo, they're going to be useful over the next 5 games. Well, certainly Rodgers over 5 game weeks, Semenyo over 4 game weeks. They're going to be useful. And I think, there is every world in which Rodgers and Semenyo's outscore Rice. There are worlds in which that happens, for sure. I don't think it's, cut and dry. As for Timber out as an individual transfer, I'm more in favour of that one, because I think there are better defenders than Timber. Like, quite a lot of better defenders than Timber right now. And I would include someone like Van Dijk in that category. And I think a Timber to Van Dijk move, to me, actually does make some amount of sense. But I don't think and maybe that's a little bit to do with maybe some rotation risk around Timber right now. I don't know. Maybe that's being overstated a little bit. But Timber to Virgil makes a little more sense. We've got a few more super chats to catch up on. Scorpio Veer says, sell Bruno G. Oh, 100%. Bruno G's out for like 6-7 weeks. 6-7 weeks. So, yeah, he's definitely going to be a sell. Got Rice, Endo, Anderson, and Bruno Fernandes. So, you'd be looking at someone like Florian Wirtz if you can afford him. I think that would be my priority move. Well, priority replacement for Bruno G. If I had the money, I'd go for Florian Wirtz. If not, and you need to go a bit cheaper, you got someone like Rodgers there, potentially, as well. I don't know. Am I missing anyone? I could talk about Burma, I guess. But I don't think I would. I think I do prefer, if I'm buying new this game week, I'm probably edging more towards a Wirtz or a Rodgers. Palmer, if he can get there, but it's unlikely. Wouldn't be making multiple transfers to get Bruno G to Palmer. So yeah, if you want to go cheaper, I think someone like Dango is also going to be an option for you as well. Lisa Snay says, hey Dan, selling Bruno G, wanted Dango, but have 3 Brentford players, can only afford Ryan. Dango from your buy sell keep and Dango from buy sell keep avoid video. Only wanted to make 1 transfer, but maybe sell Rice or Evan Nilsson as well. I mean, Rice doesn't have to go. He is a low priority transfer out. Don't get me wrong, you're probably going to sell Rice by game week 31 because he has a blank game week. And, and as each game week goes by, there's more of a motivation to sell Rice because we get closer to that. But it's a low priority transfer, in my opinion. So unless you've got a load of spare transfers and you think you can do something really interesting, 1 free transfer. Rice is in most teams going to be sticking around. Evan Nilsson, I think you probably give him the West Ham game, unless you don't have Thiago. In which case, I think Evan Nilsson to Thiago maybe makes sense as a transfer. If you're selling Bruno G and you can only afford Ryan and Dango, and you can't get Dango because you have 3 Brentford players, maybe the decision is kind of made for you. Maybe Ryan, maybe Adley, or maybe you can go boring and just go for an Elliot Anderson. That's also always going to be an option, just to go boring, like me. But yeah, I am a fan of Ryan. I'm cautious about overrating him, but from what I've seen from him so far, I've been really impressed. So it is a transfer that is a little bold, but it's certainly not a bad transfer. It's kind of high risk, medium reward, I guess. But I like it. I think I would give Evan Nilsson 1 more week, unless you don't have Thiago, in which case I would consider Evan Nilsson to Thiago. Rice can stay. And to be honest, if you can't find a Bruno G replacement that you like, is it maybe worth just waiting for next week, doing 2 transfers and upgrading Bruno G to a player who you do like? Maybe someone like Wirtz next week could be really nice. I don't know. Maybe. Puofa says, thoughts, defend Gabriel Alderete Mukiele, midfield, Enzo Palmer, captain, Bruno Rice, and forwards, Thiago, Joao, and Ekitike, bench, Dubravka, Gay, Hill, and Sobo. What do I think about that? I'm a little bit worried about the double Sunderland defence there. But, I mean, would I play Gay ahead? Probably not. I mean, maybe the I guess lower risk thing to do, the low risk thing would be to put Gay in and take Alderete out. That would be a safer bet. But if you're happy to take a risk, Sunderland double defense, playing at home against Fulham, don't hate it. Midfield looks good. Front line looks good. Lacking massively in the Man City department, but I mean, there's no real way to resolve that right now. So, in terms of your team, I think it looks good, it looks strong, but could fall apart were Man City to succeed this week. That's kind of what I probably would say on that one. Daniel Benyon says, maybe I've had too many beers, but my gut is saying Rodgers captain. Too many beers? It's midday. Unless you're from elsewhere. I've seen a few people talk about Rodgers captain. I have seen a few, but I don't know, man. Rodgers is such a weird one because his returns are so unpredictable. I don't think the form has really been there for Aston Villa generally. So I don't know. I don't think I'd be able to confidently captain Rodgers. I don't think Leeds aren't that bad. And don't get me wrong, it's a good fixture, but I don't know. Have Aston Villa impressed enough to justify it? Has Rodgers impressed enough recently to justify it? Every chance, something can happen there, but I don't know. You're in Japan. It's 9 p.m. Ah, fair enough. Fair enough. Had a couple too many sakes. Well, or Asahis. That's the best Japanese beer I know. Nixter says, start Anderson, Krupa Jr. or Cherky. Probably not Cherky. I think it's just too risky. Krupa Jr. versus Anderson is interesting. Probably not too much to split that, really. But I'm going to say Anderson. It's safer. Papu says, hey Dan, can I triple Captain Palmer? You can, but I don't know. Let me show you the what we're dealing with potentially. Asahi for the win, says Nath. Yeah, it's class, isn't it? It's a class beer. A top lager. I might have one tonight. Let's have a look at this. So, yes. Palmer versus Burnley is genuinely one of the best single game week triple captain opportunities between now and the end of the season. Because if you're looking at maybe if you're looking at Haaland, there aren't really any fixtures that stand out for him, like other than a potential double game week. So if we're looking at single game week fixtures, what really stands out? I mean, Burnley away, but that's probably going to be a double game week fixture if we're being honest. I mean, if Burnley away ends up going into game week 36 and we see Man City against Brentford and Crystal Palace, then I think that's Brentford and Burnley. That's a no-brainer triple captain week. But if not, and it goes in here, as I currently think it will, then I'm less convinced. Outside of that, single game week triple captain opportunities, there's nothing really for Man City. Bruno Fernandes leads at home, maybe. And that's pretty much it. Unless you fancy like Arsenal against Burnley, an Arsenal player against Burnley in 37, potentially. So those are kind of your options. Palmer this week against Burnley at home. You could save for this one, Bruno against Leeds at home. And I think the advantage of saving for Bruno at Leeds at home is that by that time, we'll probably have a pretty clear idea on what's going on with Game Week 36. So your choices are, basically, go for Palmer this week, or, as a triple captain this is, or my preference would be to wait for more information on Game Week 36 if it goes ahead. I mean, there is potential for it to be Game Week 35 as well. Small potential, but potential nonetheless. So wait for information on double game weeks generally and see if we get an extra one outside of 33 for Man City. And if not, you've got Bruno against Leeds at home to fall back on. That would be my kind of idea of the best thing to do. Maybe I should make a video on this, or at least like a TikTok on this. I might do that, or short form YouTube short. Yeah, or the best weeks to triple captain, because I think a lot of people are going to have these questions. All right, I will do that. I'll make a proper video and I'll explain it a bit better. But that's basically the situation with triple captain. You either go for it this week, or my preferred option, which is to wait for more double game week information, and you still have Bruno at home to Leeds, or potentially an Arsenal player at home to Burnley later in the season to fall back on. I mean, is there a Liverpool? Is this nostalgia? Is there a Liverpool option? Not really. Salah against Wolves in 29? Probably not, right? Probably not. All right, let's check out some of these other super chats. We just spent a little bit of time on that one. Kaz says, "Hi Dan, please." Hi Dan. Plan to dead end Game Week 31, considering moving Vandenberg to Ballard or below 4.6 million defender. Have Gabriel Hill, Anderson, and Chow. Should I roll instead? I mean, whilst Vandenberg continues to start for Brentford, I think actually this run of fixtures is pretty nice. I mean, I'm lumped with Collins, who isn't even playing, and I really kind of had hoped that Collins would be playing, but he's not. Because I really wanted one of the reasons I've held Collins for so long is because I really wanted him for this run of games. Otherwise, I would have sold him a long time ago. So you have a defender for this run of games on current starting 11s. I think, to be honest, Aya is more likely to drop out for Collins than Vandenberg is. So, yeah, I would definitely be keeping Vandenberg if I had him. And if I had Vandenberg, would I play him this week? Maybe not. But next week I'd play him. Game week 30 I'd play him. Game week 31 I'd play him. So that's enough. For a 4.5 defender, that is enough game weeks you're going to get out of him for a player that cheap, which is nice. Ipstar says, is it possible to use a wildcard in 27, but also keep a strong lineup for double game week 33? Midfield to be Semenyo, Shada, Stacey, Verts, and Bruno. Who's Stacey? Stack, maybe. With Donnarumma in goal. Well, is it possible? You are going in blind. That's the problem. Is it possible? Of course, it's possible. Anything's possible in the world of magical FPL joy. But is it likely? Well, I don't know. I think if you are wildcarding now, what I would probably be doing. This is crazy. But there is the possibility. You can't wildcard. You can't free hit 31. You can't do it. Yeah. Okay. If you're wildcarding now, you definitely pick Raya because you can hide him, or Donnarumma. So definitely pick Raya or Donnarumma because you can hide them. You pick, I guess, Chelsea. You definitely pick Liverpool. You try and pick from some of these teams that are more likely to get double game weeks than others, which is excluding the teams that are blanking: Brighton, Burnley, Chelsea, Liverpool. Those are the teams outside of the teams that blank in 31. Those are the teams that are most likely to double in 33. And you hope the doubles fall your way, and you save as many transfers as physically possible to course correct when things inevitably don't go the way you're expecting. So that's the way you would do it. Is it possible? Yes, but it requires a lot of luck and it requires a lot of saving of transfers. You're basically saying, okay, I'll wildcard now, and I am not spending a single transfer for the next 4 or 5 game weeks. Only spend one maybe in that period if you absolutely need to. Only spend transfers when completely necessary, which is going to be rare. So if you're happy to go ahead with that, wildcard now, save as many transfers as possible, try and pick players from some of the teams more likely to double in 33. Minimize your players that blank in game week 31, but also have some of them because they're the same teams that are most likely to double in 33, and go crazy. Or don't go crazy. Go crazy in the wild. You have to be quite actually not crazy. You have to be quite strict with yourself and go strict. There you go. VJ with a super chat here says Timber, Anderson, Richards, Mukiele, Tarkovsky, Rice, Enzo, Wilson, Sarr, Bruno, Thiago, Haaland, Watkins. That's a whole bunch of players. For a second free transfer, Rice to Rodgers / Sub// Stango, or Tarkovsky to Hill or Roll. And starting 11. So Rice to Rodgers / Szoboszlai is luxury. Tarkovsky could maybe go, but I don't think you really need to sell Tarkovsky because you do have enough coverage there. And you're not going to play Hill even if you do buy him. So I don't like either of those transfers really. If you're starting 11, Timber, Richards, Mukiele, Sarr, Bruno, Thiago, Haaland, Watkins. That's not enough players. So I guess your decision is you're going to bench Tarkovsky, and your decision is between Wilson and Anderson, really, isn't it? So it's just Wilson versus Anderson. Maybe back the attacker, go for Wilson, but it's close. I think the rest of the team pretty much picks itself. Mafon says Ruffs, Gabriel, Timber, Hill, Anderson, and Burmo, Bruno, Enzo, Verts, Haaland, Thiago, Krupi, 2 free transfers. 0.4 in the bank. Virgil, Kelleher, Ekatike, Dango, or Rodgers in. Out of those players, I probably like Virgil the most as a transfer in, followed by Ekatike. I mean, yeah, you don't need to sell Ruffs this game week. Who do you really need to sell this game week? No one really. If you can get, you got 0.4 in the bank, so you're not going to be able to get Ekatike in for Krupi anyway. Really, yeah, I don't really think we need transfers and stuff there. Nah, I can't really see a clear path there. Rob says benching one of Evan Nilsson, Tati, and Jai. Hart says and Jai. Head says Tati. I think I'd bench and Jai. Just go for it. You know, if you're gonna have Tati in your team, you may as well play him in some of his more favourable fixtures, right? Bournemouth at home is a good fixture. Can we do a bench list? Yes, we can. In 7 minutes. We always bring out the bench list 1 hour before deadline, as is tradition. Still more questions about selling Rice. I'm still not sold on it. I'm still not sold on selling Rice. So roll and play Timber over Hill. Yes, Mafon. I guess. Munira says, "Hi Dan, I'm new to FPL and loving your content. I'm wondering, is it worth to sell Timber, Rice, and Gu to Hill, Dango, and Thiago? I have 3 transfers left." No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It seems a lot. I don't think you improve your team that much considering it costs 3 transfers. Don't get me wrong, you're going to have to probably do Hill to... Sorry, you have to do Gu to Thiago at some point. But does it need to be done this week? Can it be saved until next week, maybe? Don't know. Is there another way of doing it without selling both Timber and Rice? There's a lot of downgrades just to do 1 transfer, isn't it? I wonder if you could maybe try and find a way of doing it in 2. Chido Obi is in my starting 11 because I haven't made a transfer of moving him to Thiago yet. That's the only reason. But I think I'm just gonna do the transfer, to be honest. I think I'm just gonna do it now. I think this is a good time. I can't. I'm really even if. I mean, the thing is, something crazy could happen, and we get some crazy leak before deadline. But I'm not sure if it really would impact anything anyway. Timber to Hill is an upgrade? Disagree. If I had Timber in my squad, I would be playing him ahead of Hill. But yeah, this is the plan. And I'd still have 1 million in the bank too. I mean, I could do... the fun move is to do Rice to Verts next week, because I do think, you know, if we're considering Gameweek 31-2, then that's obviously going to be an upgrade. Rice to Verts as a transfer, I think is a positive move over a 5 game week period. But over less than that, I'm not sure. I'm not as sure. It'll be 4 game week by next week. But like, I don't know. I think my priority really, I think I would like to do Rice to Verts next week, but it's low priority. That is a luxury transfer, really. And something that actually will maybe resolve more things is to do Collins to Virgil, which I am bang on for money, to an extent where I actually genuinely really do need to keep an eye on price changes. Like, I think I'm gonna be fine because Virgil is, you know, nowhere near a price drop. Collins, I've got a couple of days, so it's scary times. But maybe that changes if Collins plays this weekend all of a sudden and plays well. Then maybe that changes my mind on that one. But that's the problem for next game week. That's the problem for next game week. This week, Obi to Thiago, pretty straightforward, I think. Pretty straightforward. Damien says, "Hi Dan, should I go Timber and Gu out for Thiago and Hill?" For 2 free transfers, I like that a little bit more. Like, there was the question earlier, wasn't it? There was like, do I sell, like, what was it, Timber and Rice to free up money to do the Thiago upgrade? But if it's just one and it's Timber, I'm more on board with that one. I'm more on board if you've got 2 free transfers. I know a lot of people were going to be scared of like Semenyo this week, and don't get me wrong, if you don't own Semenyo, you should be very scared. But I would also put Thiago in a similar category. If you don't have Thiago this game week, I would have a little bit of fear. Double up on the Brentford attack. I think that's fine, Drew. I think that's fine. Bench Robinson, start Ribena, captain Vimto. Nah, top of my list is Asta's own brand. It's cheap, but it is. It makes me cheerful. I genuinely prefer it to any other brand of squash. Rice to Semenya, maybe. Some people like that move. I'm not as hot on it as others. Like, don't get me wrong, like Semenyo could go off this week. But I think over a 4-game week period, for to considering it's going to cost a transfer, I do wonder how worth it is. Particularly, you get one benching in there, one rotation from Semenyo, and the 4-game week kind of total score is going to kind of shift towards the favour of Rice, I guess. Ipster says, thanks for the tip. Playing to triple captain Palmer versus Burnley this week. Have Pedro too. Should I go ahead or save it for Haaland in a double game week versus Brentford and Palace? I don't think it's going to be a double game week versus... Oh, yeah, I do think it's going to be... I think it's most likely to be a double game week versus Brentford and Palace. But I say that's the most likely scenario, but that's still only probably a 40% chance scenario. So it's really, really difficult to say. If it's me, I would save it. Because I think the value of a 40% chance of a double game week is more than a 100% chance of a single game week, because there will be other single game week options too to fall back on if needed. So yeah, I personally would save the triple captainship if I still had it, but I don't think there's anything wrong with triple captaining Palmer. Like, I think it's definitely worth discussing. I think it's definitely worth considering. Needed defenders to get me through to game week 31 and bench boost 33. Anderson, Strike, or Rodon. Oh god, I don't really like any of them, David, to be honest. If I had to choose, I guess bench boost 33 as well. I guess Anderson, based on that. I guess. Oh, but I'm not. Am I enthusiastic about that one? Not really. Not really. Who I'd really want is someone like Virgil, but I'm guessing he's a bit out your price tag. Price range. That's what I'd really want. Yeah. Palmer scored 2 last time he played Burnley. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's not something that I value too much. Kind of the like the returns against certain teams, but if it's something you do value, then yeah, of course you gotta factor it in. Start Enzo or Dango. It's Ramadan right now. People are worried about Ramadango, aren't they? Who would I start? I would definitely start Enzo over Dango, but like honestly, I would try and find a way of starting both. But yeah, this week Enzo. I don't know this whole Ramadan Dango thing. I don't know how much. I don't know how much credence it has, because it's like, yes, he was rested a little bit last season or something. Is that enough data, really? I don't know. I mean, has anyone actually gone back to his previous clubs and seen what he's done if he's been off the? I mean, we can probably find out pretty quickly. But I think the whole Dango during Ramadan thing is a little bit overhyped. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? But is it useful? I don't know. What do we do? Let's go. Transfer marks, actually. Not Morgan Rogers. Dango. Rogers was the last player I clearly checked out. So yeah, we know last season during Ramadan, Dango maybe wasn't was maybe had a couple of bench appearances or something. But let's just go back one more season and see if there is a similar pattern. So when was Ramadan? 2024 was 10th of March to 9th of April. Okay. So 10th of March was okay, so from the 13th, started against Luton, benched against Everton, started against... And this was when he was kind of a bit part player anyway, so the benches aren't entirely surprising, but that's 2 starts during Ramadan. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, last season, playing for Bournemouth... This is the season before that. But, yeah, last season, he wasn't necessarily first choice. I don't think the benching should be surprising. What I'm trying to find is when he was first choice. I don't know if we're going to find that. So, yeah, and if we just try and find roughly when Ramadan was, let's just say, March, April-ish. Yeah, again, we're seeing him start pretty regularly, even when he was a kind of a non-first choice player. I want to try and find a previous club when he was like a 90-minute man, if that even was the case. I don't even know if that was the case. Yeah, he's not even a 90-minute man during that season. It's difficult. It's kind of non-information, isn't it? There's no real... there's no real pattern here that is different from any other game week. I mean, I could take any... So, obviously, the point was made during 2024-25 that he was benched for a couple of games, right? Which was around here, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. It was Ramadan last year. Started 28th of February. So he was benched twice and played once. But what's the reason he was benched here? Or what was the reason he was benched here? I guess the injury. What's the reason he wasn't really getting many minutes back here? There was no Ramadan there. It's nothing, is it? It's nothing. I don't think we can gain any information from that. I don't think we can get any information at all about that. I think he'll be fine. Players, every year there are, and there has been for as long as I can remember, players who observed Ramadan, and this only became a talking point in the FPL world in the last few years, and has been kind of debunked so many times that, I mean, I'll talk about it, but I can't pretend to still be interested in the discussion. I can't pretend. Players know how to look after their bodies. They're professional athletes. Right. Okay. Bench list. I think it's time. In fact, let's do 2 things. I want to get you guys involved. Let's get you guys involved. We're going to do a captain poll, and we're going to do a bench list. So first, I'm going to set up the captain poll. Who is your Gameweek 27 captain? I'm going to put in Haaland, Palmer, Fernandes, or other. I think that is a fair set of players to choose from. Right, enjoy the poll. And whilst you're voting on that one, vote on that and then throw in the chat a player who you are thinking about benching. 1 player each that you are considering benching this game week. And we'll write them on the bench list. We certainly will. Whilst that's happening, I'll just check to see in the off chance there's been any leaks, but it doesn't look like there has been any. Nope. Okay, let's see what you got. I'm seeing Andersons and Andersons. This could get very confusing. Let's start that way. How are we ever going to tell which one is which? How are we ever going to tell? They have literally identical names. No differences whatsoever. Maybe we'll have to figure out a way of differentiating them. Change one of the letters or something like that. We just change one letter in the two names. We might be able to differentiate them. Let's put Timber in his rightful position. You guys are going to disagree with me. I don't care. He's going there. Who else we got? And Burmo. That's rogue. I don't think he's going on the bench list. Can't see the bench. Oh, yeah, it would help, wouldn't it? It would help if I put it on screen. Textonic says maybe add the letter at the end. Add F for Forest. F for Forest and N for Nottingham. That doesn't make sense. Anderson F and Anderson N. Okay. Let's do I don't know, Anderson. We'll put in we'll just do it in brackets. I guess we could just do because let's start with this Anderson. So this is the Fulham Anderson, and we can do it by kind of saying maybe like he's plays for his national team, he plays for Fulham, and he is an OG of the game. So we could do like that for the Fulham Anderson, and then we put in brackets how are we going to remember this one. We can maybe do he plays further forward, he's underrated, and got a good long shot. So that's how we can kind of remember. I think that's probably the best way. So we've got Nottingham Forest Anderson, who plays further forward, he's underrated, and he's got a good long shot. And then we've got Fulham's Anderson. He plays for his national team, he plays for Fulham, and he's an OG of the game. He's been around for a while. And I think that probably clears up all confusion between the two players. Anderson plays for Nottingham Forest. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know he does. But he plays further forward, he's underrated, and he's got a good long shot. So I just thought that would be the easiest way to do that. Thank you for the super sticker, Chris. With the $1 Australian do. This has been the best Anderson bit yet. Do you reckon? It's up there, isn't it? Surely first names. No, I think this is the clearest. This is the best way. I feel like we know. Just remember, guys. Pretty obvious. A further forward, underrated long shot merchant versus a national team Fulham player who is an OG. I can't think of a single better way to differentiate them. Right, anyway, we should probably put some more players on the bench list. Isn't that Pep on the phone? No, there's no phone calls right yet. Maybe there will be Pep on the phone soon, but not right now. Let's put players like Richards on. I'm maybe going to put Richards above Timber just because of DEFCON and more nailed, I guess. Soboslai and Rice. Does Rice need to go on there? I don't know. Alderete or Hill? Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put Alderete here. I'm certainly going to put Mukiele above Alderete. I'm just saying that. If I had the opportunity to play Nottingham Forest's Anderson over Alderete, I probably would. Would I? It's just not true, is it? I'm going to put it right there. Some backpacker, I see your idea. We'll maybe use that one next week. The compass says FUL equals Fulham, NFO equals Nottingham Forest. I guess you could interpret it that way, but I've kind of already explained what the letters stand for. You can interpret it how you want, but I feel like I'm the one writing these abbreviations, so surely I get to decide what what the initials stand for, right? O'Reilly. Damien, how have I got it twisted? What have I got twisted? I don't understand. Danny reckons I've got things twisted as well. Miratoma says, pack it in and do the bench rankings already. I would love to. I would love to do that. But people making some kind of strange assumptions about what FUL and NFO, what they stand for. Right, let's get back on topic here. You guys are getting distracted too easily. You get tested for ADHD, some of you guys. I'm going to put Hill here. I'm going to put him alongside Senesi. That's a lie. I'm putting Senesi below Hill. I'm sorry. At a certain point, we have to admit that Hill's better than Senesi. Players like Keane, really low. Not even guaranteed to play. Tarkovsky. Maybe I did not understand it. My bad. It probably got lost in translation. Oh, it's no problem, man. It's no problem, man. Katioglu, that's rogue. He's not going on the bench list. I'm sorry. Too rogue. Borlak says Son is Forest and Sen is Fulham. No, I know. I agree. That's what I've done. Do we need to go over it again? A lot of people saying Cunha. Do you just take the risk on Cunha if you have him? I feel like I probably would. O'Reilly. O'Reilly's probably in this kind of hillish area, isn't he? Maybe because he's doing quite well into. No, I'm actually gonna put O'Reilly betwixt our two Andersons. Wilson is a really good player for the bench list. Really good player. Can someone explain to Borlak the how the captions on screen are correct? Wilson, where would I place him? I feel like I prefer Mukiele to Wilson. I don't know if I prefer Alderete to Wilson. I do generally agree with back the attacker, so I'm going to put Wilson there. Unless, they're against a DEFCON guy. I wonder if I put this Joachim Anderson in the wrong place here. Is that a little low? Maybe that's harsh. This area, I'm kind of struggling with. All of these players are kind of even. I don't know, man. Cash against Leeds is interesting, but I think I would probably back Bournemouth defenders ahead of him. Enzo Lefay. Good old elf on a shelf. That's not Elliot Anderson. That's Joachim Anderson. Look, because he's got an E in the name. And this has got an O in the name. That is Elliot Anderson, who's a little higher. You shouts on Soboslai here as well. Let's put in Soboslai. Okay. Szoboszlai can go. I think higher than Wilson, not higher than Mukiele. Is that maybe harsh? Am I being harsh? I may be being harsh on Szoboszlai. I am being harsh. I'm gonna boost him up. I'm gonna boost him up there. I like that. And you know what? I'm downgrading Richards. I think Richards is the one messing me around a little bit here. Because if I'm honest, I'd rather play Mukiele than Richards. If I had both players and I had to bench one, I would bench Richards first. I'm happy with that. Oh, I distracted myself. Yes, sorry. Lefay. Lefay was going to go pretty low. Maybe. Thing is, without penalties, he's not particularly useful. I think I prefer the Bournemouth defenders to him. Let's say there. Mark Gahey probably does need to go on. I'm going to put him alongside O'Reilly. Why is Hill so far down the list? Because Bournemouth aren't very good at keeping clean sheets. And away from home against West Ham, I don't think a clean sheet is anywhere but guaranteed. Seb now thinks the Andersons are mixed up. Do we really need to go through this again? Let's add a few more players to the bench list, and then we will go over it again. I do apologise, guys. I know some people not keeping up. John has got a great suggestion. That's such a great suggestion. John, okay, we're going to... Because, obviously, forward, underrated, long shots, and national team, Fulham and OG is clearly confusing people. So we're using John's suggestion, and we're going to do Anderson, who is a DEFCON expert footballer. And we're going to do Anderson, who is kind of a middling international defender. And now, there can be no confusion about which Anderson is which. None whatsoever. None. Super chat from Is Right says, "Hi Dan, I have Timber, Gabriel, Richards, Chalobah. Who would you bench? Also, would you captain Haaland, JP, Enzo, Thiago, or Rodgers?" I would captain Haaland, and I will be captaining Haaland. Unless there's any leak that he's not starting, which I doubt there will be. Who would I bench out of those defenders? I guess Richards? Or if you want to kind of hedge your bets a little more, then you could bench Timber. But it would be one of Timber or Richards. But I think I would edge towards benching Richards. It's just kind of risk management, I guess, at that point. Okay, you guys are we still not clear? The Andersons are still not clear? I think it's pretty clear which one's which. Tectonic says it's crystal clear now. Good. Is Right's happy with that answer. Good stuff. Ashley's head is wiped. I can't think of a reason why. DJ Carey says, "I'm so pissed that Dan didn't get what he got wrong with the Anderson thing. I don't really don't see what I got wrong at all. In either of my abbreviations, or in the second case, John's abbreviations. You confused Anderson as a defender and Anderson as a midfielder. No, I have not confused anything. This is Anderson. He is a midfielder, and he is a defensive... No, he's a DEFCON... I mean, you could just look at it and say DEF, DEFCON. Maybe that's just the best thing. But he is a DEFCON expert footballer. DEF, DEFCON expert footballer. And Anderson, who is a defender who plays for Fulham, is a middling international defender. The D is right there for defender. So there's no way to confuse it because the D is literally there. Oh, which one's the defender? This one literally has the D for defender right there. It's so obvious. What is it that people are not guessing here? Dan, it's the O and the E needs to be changed. No! No! Why would I... Andersen, who plays... If I change this to this, then that would be incorrect. Because I would not say that Andersen, the Fulham defender, is a DEFCON expert footballer, but Anderson is a DEFCON expert footballer. If I change this to O, this is just totally wrong. Anderson, middling international defender, barely plays internationally. He's definitely not middling. I think he's quite good. And he's 100% not a defender. 100% not a defender. Andersen is a defender. Like, this is actually crazy. Now you get it. A few people getting it now. Brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, sometimes, honestly, you make the gaslighting going on in this chat is crazy. You're making me think that I'm the one in the wrong here. Now you got it, Damien. Excellent. Excellent. I'm so happy we're on the same page. Any other players to add to the bench list, like desperately? Sen and Son needs to be a sticker. Yeah, we should do an emoji for Sen versus Son. Just a Sen Son. Something like that. We can have Dewsbury Hall on the bench list. I think that's fair. Wouldn't put him super high though. He's got kind of in the fake, maybe territory. You'd maybe say. Krupa Jr. probably needs to go on here, doesn't he? Yeah, and I don't know if I'm rating him super high. I may be putting him here though. Would you have Rice on the bench list? If you have him, just play him anyway. If I were to put Rice on the bench list, I might delete him later if we run out of space, but he would go number 1 like there. He would go higher than certainly any player we've seen so far. Cherky, where would I put him? Really difficult to place. Maybe here. Dewsbury Hall's a difficult one because I actually can see him maybe doing something, and we know he's going to play, so I'm actually going to bump Dewsbury Hall up. How about Sarr on the bench list? I think, Sarr is another player you play. I mean, arguably ahead of Rice. Yeah. Because there is also a positional weakness for Wolves on their left side of their defence. So Sarr is maybe going to be able to capitalise on that. Malik Chow. Yeah, Malik Chow is going right here. Right on the refrigerator. Alderete versus Hill. Both of those guys already on the bench list. Garner bench list. Garner, Defcon guy. But poor fixture. Unlikely clean sheet. Not as good as Defcon as someone like Anderson. Rage baiting by not adding Gooey. What does that say there? What does that say right there? But Garner, I feel like I would rather take a risk on Garner than a... That's just a lie. It's just a lie. There. Hill is the guy. Rage baiting me, Munoz and Jai. There's no way you bench Munoz. And Jai is a fair shout, but Munoz is up here. In Jai, fair enough. I think we do need to be taking him a little bit more seriously. Maybe here. Oh, no, that's harsh, isn't it? Or is it? Is it harsh? Nah, let's go there. Any team leaks? Let's check it out. Bear with me, and then we'll check that super chat in a second. No team leaks. Lisa Snay says Hub wants me to play Timber Mukiele and Dango over Virgil. I'd play Virgil over Timber. I think, assuming you have Gabriel. But is that risk management? The problem is technically Arsenal have much better clean sheet odds than Liverpool, but I think we need to factor in minutes risk, form, a little bit in there. So yeah, I will put Virgil in the bench list just for clarity, but I think I would just about prefer him to Timber. Because like the clean sheets are a little bit worse for Virgil against Forest, but do I agree with that? I don't know, man. I don't know. And Burmo's not going on the bench list. You play him, Burmo. Van der Ven. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I guess he is below Chow, right? I guess. Why is Senesi so low against West Ham? West Ham have been doing okay recently. They've been improving. They've been scoring goals. And Bournemouth, I don't know, they're Senesi's not been scoring points pretty much full stop. And Hill's kind of been papering over the points with Defcon, which he will keep getting. And a little bit of attacking return. It's so difficult because intuitively I really like the look of Hill, and I would kind of want to play him this week in a way and kind of reward his reward him in my team for getting all the points that he's got so far. But honestly, I don't know, man. Like, if we're being realistic, he's not going to keep getting attacking returns every week. Surely not. The luck can't continue. And I got other defenders. Mateus Mane. Ironically, I would play him ahead of a few players here. Because Crystal Palace are bad, right? So I would play him ahead of some of these players. Ryan, where would I put him? Next to Szoboszlai, maybe? Why is Cash so low? Because I think Leeds will score, and I don't think Cash will get defensive contributions or attacking returns. So I think Cash is a 1 to 2 point player pretty much every single game week, and it's not really the kind of FPL asset I rate. And maybe it's my just personal opinion, but where's Thiago? He's in the captain conversation, not the benching conversation. Chalobah over Hill then? Oh yeah, I mean I would certainly be playing Chalobah over Hill if I had both. Yeah, that would be a pretty simple one. Will Estevao start today? I'm not sure. I have him in my draft team, so I kind of hope he does. No way. Let's see if Anything else interesting happened? Super chat from Smee Music says, which three would you play out of Gahey, Richards, Gabriel, Hill, and Mukiele? I would play Richards, Gabriel, and Mukiele. Oh, you know what? I love a question that I just feel like I'm happy with the answer. Yeah. Is Saka a good pick right now, Dan? On draft, maybe. I wouldn't be buying him in FPL, but if you have him already, then why not? I have both Anderson and Wilson on the bench, but it looks like you're recommending them. I mean, it depends what else you have, really. It really kind of does depend what else you have. Hill, Wilson, Alderete, Richards, start 2. All of those players are on the bench list, so the answer is on screen for you. In fact, a lot of the questions you guys are asking are already answered on the bench list. But we got a super chat from Matthias, who says, can't afford Ekatike, have Obi, rest of the team, same as yours. Bench Collins, Chow, Anderson, 1 free transfer. What do I do? I would be happy to play Anderson, to be honest. And, you know, next game week, make a double move, man. Make a double move. And get Obi to Ekatike. Get the player that you want. Ekatike from next week looks good. I would be happy to wait, I think, and just play Anderson. Because then you can look at, I don't know, you know, if you say you have a similar team to me, you can look at, I don't know exactly what your budget is, but you can look at maybe downgrading Enzo next week, and that might free up some money to upgrade Obi to Ekatike. That would be my first thought. But, you know, you also have someone like Rice who you can maybe downgrade if you've got similar teams to me. Depending on how much budget you have, you can maybe downgrade someone like Collins or Chow, who you might be thinking about removing regardless. So there's going to be more options next week to hopefully allow you to get the player you want. So a roll this week to 2 free transfers. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. With Lacroix out, is Richards still a good option to captain? Oh, no. Definitely not to captain. Yeah, I mean, you probably play Richards depending on whether you have better defenders, but most people would be playing Richards, but not in the captains category. Smee Music says, I paid £5 for a super chat and never got an answer. Yes, you did. Unless I've said your name wrong and you didn't kind of clock. TSME Music. That's the one I said play. Yeah, that was the really one I was confident with my answer. I said play Richards, Gabriel, Mukiele and bench Gahey and Hill. So yeah, I did answer that one. But I got you again, my brother. I got you again. Right. Is Njai to Dango worth it? Maybe to be fair. I don't hate that transfer move. I'd be okay with that. Thoughts on benching Thiago, please? No. Thiago is closer to the captain conversation than the benching conversation. Like if someone said in the chat right now, and if there is a single one of you out there who is captaining Thiago, let me know so I can root for you. Yeah, let me know because I don't mind it. Torpedo says Dango, Ryan, or roll and start Elliot Anderson. If I had Elliot Anderson, I would maybe just play him and just get one more week of information and reassess next week. And 2 free transfers might actually allow you to do something slightly more interesting. Could be an ad whilst I was answering the question. Yeah, possibly. Possibly. Maybe I should turn ads off the streams. if I do that, do you guys promise to give me more super chats so I can I can ensure that the streams are still profitable? I'll do a deal, guys. If you guys promise to do me some super chats, I'll take ads off streams. Watkins or Ekatike? If I had to pick one now, I would pick Ekatike. Because Watkins' form has not looked great to me. Ashley says, ads during a live stream. Wow, dude, that's crazy. I have premium, so I never considered it. Hey, ads during live streams are pretty normal. Pretty normal. But yeah, I will take them off because I feel like certainly we've got a decent amount of members now to the channel, which is certainly helping to offset any lost revenue through the ads that we obviously put on the streams. So I'll take them off. That's fine. Although game week 1, I might put them back on next season because there'll be a lot of people. I thought ads during live streams just a Twitch thing. Nah, man. Does it make you a lot more money? I know it's your job. I mean, it makes a little bit of a difference. Well, it's if you have no ads on a stream, that means the only way you make any revenue through the stream itself is through super chats. And I never expect people to super chat. I always assume that no one will. So yeah, financially it makes it worthwhile. But honestly, like I would, if I wasn't getting paid to do deadline streams, I would still be doing them. Let's be totally honest. Which is why I'm probably happy to just take the ads off. Will Lewis Hall start in the next few? I hope so. I hope so. Rob says, join us members. Make Dan confused on a Thursday evening when you buy in a 0.01 player worth every penny. Yeah. Yeah. The member streams are every Thursday are sometimes quite interesting when, you know, someone's got a Tatty or a Mainu in their team that they just refuse to remove. Sibravax is by Yanel or Atara. I prefer Atara, Dango. What's your differential, your ultra differential shout this game week? What are we saying? Under 1%. Let's have a look. I'm going to take the bench list off screen for a moment, guys. No, I know it wasn't a dig Sartan backpacker. I'm just happy to answer, man. Tristan, thank you very much for becoming a member of the channel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let's do... what did I say I was going to do? My mind has gone elsewhere. What was I? I was about to look at something. Ultra differential, wasn't it? So, let's think here. A player this week. What are we saying it counts as ultra differential? Are we saying a player who is under 2% owned? Would that be reasonable? Hmm. I feel like we've got to go for an attacker here. Does a Ryan count as a ultra differential? What's his ownership at? Oh, I got one. Ultra differential. Adley, 0.6%. He's starting regularly at the moment. His underlying data is really strong. Fixtures are good. There we go. I mean, Adley, 0.6%. There's your ultra differential. Sid Vicious says -4 Enzo and Rice to Palmer, captain and Ryan or roll. Roll that. Roll that, Sid Vicious. Roll that, man. When do you predict the double game week with City versus Crystal Palace? I think that's going to fall into game week 33. Tavernier coming back, so minutes risk. It's difficult to say with these Bournemouth players because really, let's go on. Let's just go on FOTMob and just look at like the latest Bournemouth lineup, and we can kind of see because let's take maybe I'm just going to take the most recent Premier League game. Makes sense. So if you look at the lineup, if Cliver is coming in, sorry, Cliver? If Tavernier is coming in, then I would say he comes in either for Christie, Toth. I was going to say maybe Scott, but probably not. He comes in probably for Christie or Toth, right? So Adley on the left should be fine. Ryan on the right should be fine. Evan Nilsson should be up front. It should be fine. The next question is, okay, what about Creeper Jr.? Does Creeper Jr. also come in and cause some more problems there? But Creeper Jr. primarily is going to be playing in a central position, so you probably think, again, this Christie slot. So, if anything, Creepy Jr. is probably the player who suffers the most from Tavernier coming back. There might well be some rotation, but I think if Adley and Ryan keep performing, earlier subs is another risk, yeah. But if these guys are performing, I mean, I don't really see why there'd be too much rotation at least to key players. Look at his minutes before Tavernier injury. And yeah, there's no doubt that Adley has come in since Tavernier got injured, but they do play in different positions, so there shouldn't, in theory, be any direct competition. And also, Semenyo's gone, so that's another big factor. Semenyo was playing on the wing before, and now Adley, Ryan are kind of taking those wing positions. But also he's come into the starting 11. Before that, he wasn't a first choice player. That is a fact. He wasn't a first choice player earlier. He's come in, played games, and he's made his mark. He's played very well. Often one of the best players on the pitch for his team. And if he does continue to perform, why drop him? Why drop him? I mean, he's not. Let's not pretend he's 100% safe from rotation. He's not. I don't think Ryan is either. I don't think Tavernier is either. I don't think Scott is either. I don't think Evan Nilsson is either. I certainly don't think Creeper Jr. is either. So, man, there's a lot of ways to look at it. My former GOAT, David Brooks, is also coming back. Yeah, I'm not too worried about that one. I'm not too worried about that one. Totally honest with you. Right. Is it time to make a transfer? Am I ready to lock it in? I'm guessing there's no more team leaks. It doesn't look like it. Can't see anything interesting. Yeah, can't find anything. What's your opinion on Hill's future minutes? I think he's good for now. Yeah, he's probably been Bournemouth's best defender recently. He's playing better than Senesi, so ultimately, and he's important from set pieces as well. He's taking long throw-ins, and he's kind of got a decent box presence and a lot of the kind of set pieces are being targeted towards Hill. We kind of saw that last week where set piece comes over to Hill, Hill knocks it back into that dangerous area to create those chances, which is handy. Max says, sorry I missed the stream today, Dan. Hope you have a great weekend. Thank you, Max. It's no problem. You are under no obligation to to watch every stream, my friend. Enzo Captain. Enzo Captain's an interesting one. Not massively feeling it. Is Semenyo really benched? I have seen nothing convincing to suggest that Semenyo is being benched. Well, that's not to say Semenyo is definitely not benched, but I mean, I've not had any DMs. I've not seen any reliable leaks. I think it'll be fine. Well, look, I don't think it'll be fine. I think there's nothing to worry about more so than you maybe were thinking already. Any Man City player is always going to have some degree of rotation risk. We know that. That's the risk you take when you pick one of them up. This week is no different. The show team gang are starting to arrive. Well. We have got our team technically on screen. Dave says it's a troll account. Doesn't surprise me, man. I've not found anything reliable about Semeno starting or not starting, so I don't think we can get anything from that. Wilson or Evan Nilsson? To start, Evan Nilsson, I would say. Should I captain Haaland, Ekatike, or Bruno Fernandes? I'm captaining Haaland. I don't know if that influences your decision one way or another. Why is Collins not started? Sorry, guys. Because it seems that Keith Andrews really is a manager who plays the guys in form. If you're playing well, you'll continue to play. And Collins had a couple of bad games. The guys who've come in, Vandenberg, have played well as a defensive partnership. And I don't think Andrews has really felt any need to change things up when it's working. It's working. They're getting results. They're playing well. Why change it? Blue Nose Sparky says, "G'day, mate. Last minute subs. What two would you bench out of Timber, Gabriel, Chalobah, Rice, Hill, and Gay?" I would bench probably the last two on that list, Hill and Gay. Play Scott, Krupi, or Mane. Maybe just get Scott's Defcon. Play it safe there. Yeah, I would think I would play Scott. Bowen or Rice? Maybe Bowen. Transferring with 9 minutes left is wild. I don't think so. The leaks only come in the last 9 minutes. And Burma or Senesi to start? I would start on Burma over Senesi, yeah, no doubt about that. Start Dango or Rice? That's a tough one. Dango's more exciting, isn't it? Start Zubamendi over Anderson? I don't think so. I'm having a cheeky punt on Chalobah for my captain this week. That's interesting. You've watched Chelsea defend recently, right? Rice or Gabriel to start? I think you want to back Gabriel. But remember, Spurs have conceded a fair few goals to centre-backs this season. Which league do you think is most likely? I don't think we'll get anything from Man City, to be honest. It's a little early, but also it has happened before, so you never know. What are we likely to get? Maybe something Brentford. Probably not, but sometimes it has happened before. I don't know. To be honest, I'm kind of sick of staring at Obi in my team, so I might just get the transfer done. I'll wait a few more. No, you know what? No. I'm looking at him. Nothing that interesting has come out. I can't really think of a leak that would change my decision. If Haaland wasn't starting today, I would still do the Thiago transfer in for Obi, and I would keep Haaland. There's no one else really I'm interested in moving around. I'm doing it. No way we're getting leaks for that one. I prefer Thiago. So we're going to do it, guys. We're going to lock the transfer in. Obi out, Thiago in. Which makes my team look quite nice. I'm going to put Hill here. I'm going to put Hill there. And there is some temptation to play Hill over Alderete or Richards. Particularly Richards. But is this stupid? All right, hang on. Let's just save the team. Team saved. Captain set. Vice captain set. Is this crazy? I don't know. If I did a poll right now, people would say play Hill over Richards because intuitively it feels like Hill is the play over Richards, but the data and the analytics is just not backing it up at all. And when in doubt, I usually trust an analytical approach, or at least I have done this season. And the projected points difference between Hill and Richards is quite significant. So I'm not going to pretend I know more than anyone else on this one. I think Richards at home against Wolves, like, no matter how bad, the thing is, it's the human factor, isn't it? That Crystal Palace just suck right now. But, like, let's not pretend Wolves are suddenly world beaters. And I fully expect West Ham to score. I remember the weeks ago, the Chris Richards versus Reinders duck race. In the end, it didn't matter. In the end, it doesn't even matter. Yeah. The only thing is, I think Hill will get DEFCON. So if I think both teams are going to concede, I would back Hill to get defensive contributions more than I'd back Richards to. Palace let 3 in against Burnley last week. Yeah, but there was such low XG goals. I'm not counting on Hill getting an attacking return at all. I am counting on him getting DEFCON. I think Hill could get a 3 to 4 pointer. I don't know. Maybe one of my players is missing and it doesn't matter, and he'll just auto subs on. I'd definitely start Mukiele above Senesian, Wilson, Rashab. Wolves always score where I think they won't. Yeah. Wolves always score when you don't want them to. Hi Dan, where would you put Rodgers on the bench list? Like right at the top. You're not benching Rodgers. Any leaks? Let's check again. Check again. No. think I play Anderson over Wilson. I think. Every time I see James Hill playing, I think of Jimmy Hill. Like I'm not old enough to remember now. Just play both and not Alderete. No, I think Alderete plays. I think I'm happy-ish with Alderete. It's Sunderland at home with a good run of at home with a favourable fixture. It's just I don't want to say it's an amazing fixture. I think that's probably a bit too far. Can you show the bench list? Yeah, really quickly though. I'm just going to flash it on screen. So pause, take a screenshot, do what you need to do. Just as we got a super chat to cover it up, HQA says Thiago over Enzo. Not much in it between those two for me. Not much in it at all. I like both. I certainly would be playing both without a shadow of a doubt. Right, bench list is going off screen in 3, 2, 1. Boom. Larson a good captain against Wolves? Don't think so. So Bruno for Semenyo? No chance. 0 chance. Yeah, looks like no leaks this week. Unless we get something last minute. By that point, it may be too late. I think I'm happy with my lineup. I think I'm happy. this feels like the quote unquote correct order of business. Yeah, this is a good team, right? Right? Yeah, it's a good team until Sunderland and Crystal Palace concede, and I'm on 1 pointers for each of those. You have Hill and Richards over Alderesi on the bench list. Do I? No, I don't. No, I don't. I have Richards over Alderete, but no, not over Hill. But that's because I'm just a bench list is usually me putting my sensible head on. Oh man, Sar over Enzo. We got 1 second left. It's too late, man. We're locked in, guys. We are locked in for game week 27. Sar versus Enzo. I think I prefer Enzo to Sar. Is what I would have said, given enough time to answer. But there we have it, guys. There we have it. We are locked in for game week 27. Huzzah! Woohoo! Yay! Defenders suck this week. Deal with it. Midfielders and attackers, though, I think could feast. I think this is going to be a game week for attackers rather than a game week for defenders. Although, inevitably, there will always be like one defender. Some of you guys will have this defender, some of you won't. You don't know who that defender is going to be yet. But someone will get the goal, clean sheet, DEFCON 3 bonus points, 17 pointer, and define the game week, or certainly define your game week. Chewy has sold Haaland for a hit. That is wild. Absolutely wild. Ian says 27 locked mission offload Chelsea players is a go. Yeah, it could well be time to get rid of all Chelsea players, to be honest, or bench them. Rob says the defender's going to be Maguire. Dave says Van der Ven. Yeah, it could be him again. Scott says guarantee I won't own them. Carl says Jimmy Hill hosted match of the day most of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Decades I do not remember, unfortunately. Just barely remember the 90s, to be fair. But certainly not what was on match of the day. More I don't know. What even do I remember from the 90s? Having a birthday party when I was a kid, a small child. That's pretty much it. What's your overall score? 1,553 points. It's just outside the top 100k. I think I'm 101k. FPL Mate the Goat says, can you read my previous chat? I mean, if I can find it. How long ago was it? I'm scrolling up and I'm not seeing anything. You might have to type it again, my friend. Got a super chat here from Ashley, who says, appreciate the vids, mate. Good luck this week, everyone. Thank you very much, Ashley. Really appreciate the support, man. And yeah, good luck to you as well, my friend. Dan, you were confusing us with the Anderson because we thought you meant defender Anderson and defender and mid for midfielder. Now, why on earth would I mean that? Dave says top 100k coming this week. I hope so for my team. I hope it is going to be a lovely little green arrow into the top 100k. You know, guys, I've not been in the top 100k in probably over a year because I had my disaster season last year. I don't think I was in the top 100k at all last season, was I? I don't know. Maybe I was for like 1 or 2 weeks. I can't remember now. But certainly not been in it this season yet. So it's a return to the promised land, and we're not. No more finishes outside the top 100k for me. No way. Yazito says, Dan, there's fireworks outside my house. What's the occasion? Mr. Blobby from the 90s, surely. Yeah, actually, I do remember Mr. Blobby. I do. Some of it's confusing, though, because, like, some things from the 90s kind of bled into the early 2000s, and I do remember the early 2000s pretty well. Reasonably well. When it got to the mid 2000s, though, that's like, I remember everything. Habbo Hotel, RuneScape, Miniclip. Just basically, I spent a lot of the mid 2000s perpetually online. FPL Mate the Goat says, first of all, mate, I love you. Second thing, I went for something risky. Went for Hill over Timber. I just have that gut feeling. And even benched Njai and Chow. Chow, no problem. Njai, probably going to be fine unless there's a penalty there. Hill over Timber is interesting. It's interesting. I have to admit that. Let's see how it plays out. I hope it doesn't work out because I've benched Hill and that would be annoying. Chronic says I'm still playing RuneScape. Yeah, I'm thinking about. I keep thinking about getting back into it. I do have a an old school RuneScape account that I played a lot over COVID, and it's got a few 99 skills and what have you, fairly high level account. So maybe jump back on it at some point. Sutton says Limp Bizkit, StarCraft, and Stone Cold Steve Austin are the big three that bled over from the late 90s to early 2000s. I remember Stone Cold Steve Austin. Wrestling. I used to love wrestling when I was like a tween, I guess. My man Dan says, Dan, I went out last night and forgot about the deadline today. I'm praying I remember to set my captain and vice. Oh man, that's a risky one. Chronic says, I'm on RS3. Oh, damn. Well, I'm certainly not on RS3. Although, again, if I logged into my account, it would be a pretty high level. Is it still called RS3? RS3 came out, what, 15 years ago? When's RS4 coming out? Who is better, Marilyn Monroe or Dolly Parton? I don't know. I'm not an expert on either of those. Better at what? Better at being blonde American women? I would say they're pretty even in that regard. Archaeology skill, that's interesting. I'm playing Hill, but over Anderson and Tarkovsky, so a little bit more template. Yeah, that makes a little more sense, I think. I know you plan to wildcard 32 to have a strong team for bench boost 33. Are you not worried that some doubling teams may have bad fixtures after to finish out the season? Not really. Because if we look at the kind of teams who are going to double, like if it is Arsenal, Man City, for example, then these are kind of teams you trust any game week. I mean, Arsenal do have fabulous fixtures to end the season. And remember, it's only a 5-game week period. Arsenal are going to be trustworthy. Man City are going to be trustworthy, you know, regardless of what their fixtures are, and for what it's worth, their fixtures are not too bad. I don't actually. Who are the teams that have like the objectively best fixtures between game week? Let's say 30, because 33 is no, 34 is free hit. So it's really really just a 4-game week period that we're talking about here that you have to worry about. Who has the best fixtures? Man City, Crystal Palace, primarily because of their doubles, I guess, but they still have good fixtures. Arsenal, who are, you know, pretty likely to double. Brighton, who actually, interestingly, are another team that is fairly one of the more likely teams to double is Brighton. So you've got Brighton there as well. Wolves, Leeds, Sunderland, Burnley, you're not really going to be looking at these players. Newcastle have, one of the highest chances of doubling in game week 33. So again, that's going to be another team. Brighton, Forest, West Ham, Fulham, nice run of fixtures. So We don't know, and this is why I say when we do the Game Week 30 um, chip strategy video, things could very well change. And we may have to, we may reassess some things, because it could be the teams that end up doubling completely different to what we kind of predicted, and actually, suddenly the plans do have to change. But right now, I feel confident. I feel confident, but you got to keep an open mind as always. As always. Common Arsenal says, "Hi Dan from Australia. Please convince me that I'm not an idiot for captaining Ekatike." I don't think that's such a bad captain. There are worse captains. There are worse captains for sure. And if Ekatike starts finishing some of the chances that he's getting, he's going to haul. Liverpool playing in a well right now. They're in a good spot. Hopefully that's reassuring. Ashley says, "Dan, do you do these streams for World Cup Fantasy League at all? Would be cool." Yeah, man. Like, this YouTube channel is a lot of people who are kind of who follow this YouTube channel have kind of found out about this channel through us covering the international tournament. So this has always been a thing we do every single international tournament. We do fantasy streams, fantasy videos, collabs often as well, all kinds of good stuff during the international tournaments. So we don't take breaks when if it's a tournament year in the summer. We don't take breaks. There's no summers off or anything like that. No holidays. We're straight back into it. And you know what? I kind of love it. Yeah, I love those. Particularly because they reward engaged managers more, because they often have rules in place where you can switch your captain each day, or make subs, in place subs throughout the game week. Just awesome, man. But we'll talk about that when we get to the World Cup. Main man Dan says, "I subbed the season of the last World Cup." There you go, man. I think I got a lot of channel growth when I was kind of first starting out, and I did the Euro Fantasy in 2020. Did Euro Fantasy stuff there. I don't think there were many people covering Euro Fantasy then, so that was really good. A long time ago now, though. Jeez, over 5.5 years ago. Hey, is that even possible? No, it wasn't, because Euro 2020 was in 2021. That's why, wasn't it? Because it got delayed a year because of COVID. I forgot about that. Good times. Does anyone remember FPL during the COVID season? Do you remember when the FPL changed the game weeks? So obviously they postponed the whole season, and and they didn't really have, like, clearly they didn't have the technology to account for the season just stopping. So what was it, like, game week, maybe it stopped for, let's say for example, it stopped in game week 25. The whole in the game of FPL, game week 26 would go by, then game week 27 would go by. The deadlines didn't change, and the game week continued to tick by within the game of FPL, despite the fact that none of the games were actually being played. So that was crazy. FPL just didn't know what to do. So when the league restarted in the summer, FPL were like, okay, 38 game weeks have technically passed within the game of FPL. Let's create a bunch of new game weeks, and we'll call them game week 25 plus, and game week 26 plus, and game week 27 plus, etc., etc. And they just for some bizarre reason did it that way. So it was weird. Yeah, the game continued to roll on. Deadlines continued to pass. You could continue to make free transfers when no games were being played in the Premier League. Weird. I thought you blew up that World Cup. Yeah, no, man, I blew up before. I mean, I went full time on YouTube, at least. Okay, the year I quit my day job and went full time on YouTube. That was the year I finished 243rd. That was the same year, which was, I don't even know. That was the season. Yeah, so I just done Euro Fantasy in 2021, and then season 2021-22, I finished 243rd in the world, and by that point, I was already full time on YouTube. And then during that famous season, I think I hit 100,000 subscribers, which was pretty awesome. And now we've got to try and hit 250,000. Right, we're almost there, guys. Oliver's back, says, hey, Dan, I'm now number 32 in the world. Got a few places down, but thankfully didn't triple captain Gabrielle. Still got it in your back pocket. That will help. That will help for sure. Dennis Semenyo captain today. I don't hate it, to be honest. Good luck. Oliver says, I captain Rogers and now transferred in Bruno for Cunha. Rogers captain. A lot of people are going for Rogers captain. I'm seeing Rogers captain is not something I even thought about until today. I've seen a few people say, yeah, going Rogers captain. I'm like, what? Where's that come from? Where's that come from? I guess people have lost faith in so many players like Haaland and Bruno, maybe, because he blanked last week. Last week I played Bench Boost. You said it's weird, got 107 points. Difficult to really judge it, man, without seeing the rest of your team. Maybe it worked. Maybe it did work out. Maybe it didn't. And maybe game week 33 has not been played yet, so we don't know if that's going to be even better. So it's really, really difficult to judge. But I maintain that I do think that the bench boost should be played in game week 33 based on current information, unless your bench is extremely strong. Extremely strong, which for some people it will be. Right. Show me the lineups. Or don't. Do we have to go manually through the teams? Okay, maybe we do. So we've got Aston Villa, Leeds. Actually, what's the most interesting one? Probably Chelsea, Burnley, right? Chelsea's the most interesting one. Anything crazy going on here? Ooh, Gusto left back. Enzo in the 10 again. There's nothing interesting here. It's pretty similar. Pretty similar setup. Everyone who you hope to start starts, including Reece James and Gusto playing together. With Kukurea, obviously he's injured. We can check out Burnley next, because that's not really very interesting. And then we see here Dubravka, Florentino on the bench. Don't know if anyone has him. Probably not. Maybe in other fantasy modes. Steph. Nothing too abnormal. Nothing too abnormal. Let's do Brentford. Oh, it looks like FPL's just retweeted everything now, so we just go on that. So we don't have to keep doing the searches. Brentford, no Collins. Again, Dango starts. No Sharda. If anyone took a punt on Sharda, that is apparently not come off. But Thiago starts, which is good. Yeah, Collins and Sharda, the big benchings. I'm starting to think I might need to sell Collins for Virgil. I'm starting to think I might have to do that. Let's look at Leeds. Darlow, Bogle, Goodmanson, Rodon, Strike, Justin, Ampadu, Groove, Stack, Aronson, Calvert-Lewin. So again, nothing really interesting. Longstaff is on the bench. Stack is starting. Some people have Stack. Mecha on the bench there as well. And it's just Aston Villa now. Martinez, Cash, Constance, Mings, Matson, Onana, Louise, Bailey, Wendia, Rogers, Watkins. So Rogers, Watkins owners rejoice. Cash starting as well. Matson over Dina. Tammy on the bench. Oh, we got Brighton. We've got Brighton and Verbruggen starts. Dunk, Van Hecker, Hinchelwood, Welbeck, Milner, Mittelmer, Kadioglu, Gomez, Vifer, Gross, and Hertzler is managing this week. Wow. Shock. Who's on the bench? Minter, Baleba on the bench. The Kuiper, Veltman. Don't know if any of you guys have those players. But anyway, guys, we're going to have to wrap things up today because I've got to go to this engagement party. And I need to get ready because I need to go soon. Very soon. But thanks, guys, for joining me for another deadline stream. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for all the support, the super chats, the likes, the comments, the just general chat. It's all very much appreciated. We'll be back with more videos for Game Week 28 throughout the week. Looking forward to going through that. It won't be too much chip or strategy chat, I don't think, in Game Week 28. But transfers. It's going to be a big week for transfers because a lot of people rolled Game Week 27. So enjoy your weekends. Enjoy the football. And yeah, happy FPLing. Cheers, guys, and see you later, mates. Bye-bye.